Hey there, and howdy to all y'all good people out there in football land. This here is your old cousin Scotty bringing you another good year of seasoned pigskin picks. Still ain't got my face on a bag of pork rinds yet, but we can still be hopeful. I tell you what, I know it's the second week of the season, and I didn't put one of these out last week, but who knew y'all would need me? Who knew Appalachian State would go to Happy Valley and play the Nittany Lions into overtime? Who knew that Coach O would teach a bunch of Tigers down in LSU how to actually play football and put a smackdown on Miami? Sorry, Mark. Same situation. Just can't win that big game. And then, the Noles. Are you kidding me? You let a bunch of slide rule jockeys from Blacksburg come down to Tallahassee and embarrass you at home. My goodness. I tell you what, if it don't get no better than this, there'll be another coaching change at the end of the year in Tallahassee. Starting to look like Tennessee down there. Well, I hope this finds you all well and happy, because half of the fans that I'm going to talk about ain't going to like a thing I have to say. The rest of you will be all right. Let's get right to it. Here we go. How about TCU and Southern Methodist? The Horned Frogs will hop on their buses and bounce over to Dallas from Fort Worth, just about a 40-minute game of leapfrog, to introduce the Mustangs into Texas-sized football. Cordial as the handshakes might be on the field, that will be the end of the pleasantries, and the hostilities from that ugly amphibian will begin. The good news is the game starts about 8 o'clock, and most people will be watching Kentucky and Florida and won't care. And the ACC fans, who knows what they'll be watching. The bad news is, 3 hours later, the Mustangs are going to be beat down to Shetland pony status, and it ain't going to be a pretty sight watching that amphibian do his thing. Tell you what, though, Cousin Scotty's picking this one, and not even close. TCU. UCLA versus Oklahoma. Now, Chip Kelly and his big bad Bruins will grumble and growl into Norman on Saturday with an eye on munching up a wagon train. Whatever. As the South Ohio Bearcat showed them last week, this bear is more tame than Archie from Dr. Doolittle 2. Boy. Sorry, Chip. Teams was afraid of you ducks. They ain't afraid of you bears. You're just going to have to work a little harder. Lincoln Riley will have some tough decisions to make, though. He'll be scratching his head. First, do I pull the entire first string in the middle of the second quarter? And second, will I play my entire roster by the end of the day? Well, my prognosticating mind says, yep, he's going to do it. He'll play the whole team. Might even get on the cheerleaders and the band before it's over with, because he won't need much more. I guess you can figure out. Cousin Scotty's picking this one in a blowout. Oklahoma. Georgia versus South Carolina. Oh boy, here we go. The Southeastern Conference champions are well trained, and old Kirby and his dogs are going to break out of the Athens doghouse and into Muschamp's Columbia chicken coop about 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. The cockfight that went on there last week between the Chanticleers and old Cocky was a mismatch about as big as Foghorn Leghorn and that stupid dog he played with. This week, however, should show the Funky Chicken just where they really stand in the SEC. Somewhere in the middle or the bottom side. Not up with Georgia, not up on the upper end whatsoever. No chance of an SEC title for them. Well, the dogs are going to be off the chain, and no matter how hyped and how much trash talking that Funky Chicken does, once that dog bites down, you cannot shake loose from him, because that is one ferocious bite. By 7 o'clock, the dogs will be heading back to Athens, well fed on some beat down and well cooked South Carolina poultry. Cousin Scotty's pick, Georgia. How about Clemson and Texas A&M? Here we go again. Dabo versus Jimbo. Same coaches, same colors, new location. Kyle Field is the home of the 12th man, and that ought to make the Tigers actually feel at home because of the noise level. The Aggies, however, will not roll over like the Noles did for the Tigers last year, and it should make for a fun evening in Texas. Dabo's boys are dead set on another Dr. Pepper trophy and will not let the noise or all them dressed up Army men get in their way of what they got to achieve. Give Jimbo a year or two and this game will have a different outcome. But for now, Cousin Scotty's pick, Clemson. Kentucky versus Florida. Coach Stoops will load up the boys and leave the cat house of Lexington for an evening date with a swamp critter. This time last year, Dan Mullen was a Gator hater, like the rest of us. But he ain't, and he is at the helm of that North Florida swamp, sorry. UK looked pretty good last week, but a trash-talking Central Michigan ain't no Florida. And I tell you, even as bad as the Gators have been the last couple of years, they're still the Gators. These cats will claw and bite, and they'll take a chunk or two out of the walking luggage. But by the time they head for the exits in Gainesville, the cats will be packed and stacked in the checked baggage aisle. And Cousin Scotty's pick, unfortunately, Florida. How about Louisiana Monroe versus Southern Mississippi? A trip to Hattiesburg for the Warhawks Saturday evening may be through some historical real estate, but the 7-hour round-trip bus ride with 3 hours of pounding it out in the South Mississippi heat, well, I tell you what, that makes for one long, long day. I know, I used to live down there. I hope them buses got AC because it'll be the only bright point in the whole day for the Warhawks. Robert Stadium's a nice place to go watch a good football game. And if you're a Golden Eagle fan, it's going to be a real good night. The feathers will fly, but in the end, Eagles is just much bigger than Hawks, and this Eagle is way meaner than that Warhawk ever be. Cousin Scotty's pick, USM. And finally, for all you Tennessee fans, well, you might just get a win this week. Of course, when you pay ETSU to come into your house and play like that, well, good luck. Don't embarrass yourself and lose another game to a little team. Cousin Scotty's pick, I'll give this one to the Big Orange. You got to give Jeremy a little time so he can get his groove on and turn things around in Knoxville. Ain't going to happen quick, but it's going to happen. Cousin Scotty's pick, though, is Tennessee. And that's all I got to say about that. Well, folks, that's it for me this week. Hope y'all come back and see me and see how I done or did or doing or... Well, either way, just come on back next week. Still working on getting me a face on a bag of pig skins. I like barbecuing hot. That's my favorite. Well, now for the legal stuff. Don't bet on football. If you do, it ain't my fault. If you lose, if you win, it ain't my fault either. I didn't tell you to do it. Don't do it. I ain't responsible. That's the end of that. Don't blame me. I love y'all. God bless you. Have a great week. Have a good time watching some good old college football in the South. See ya.